Earth received the signal at 3:17 Universal Time Coordinated. At first, no one understood what it was. Deep space sensors picked up a weak transmission from the edge of human territory. The signal was broken, full of static, and fading fast. Automated systems flagged it as emergency level priority and sent it straight to Earth Command. Within minutes, technicians pulled the data apart. Video logs, audio recordings, biometric reports, colony status feeds. The name appeared on every screen. Haven 17, a quiet farming colony. 2 million people. No major weapons. No defense fleet. Just families, workers, and dreamers try and build a future among the stars. Now, silence. The first video showed blue skies and tall crop towers. The second showed alien ships tearing through orbit. The third showed burning cities. Doctors running through smoke-filled halls. Parents holding children while explosions shook the ground. The last file ended with a woman speaking into a cracked camera. "If anyone finds this, please tell Earth we didn't provoke them." Then the feed cut out. Across Earth, Mars, Luna, and every human system, the footage spread in minutes. People stopped what they were doing. Factories went quiet. Schools paused lessons. Transit stations froze as screens replayed the same horror again and again. Haven 17 was gone. On Earth, the World Council gathered in emergency session. Normally, these meetings were loud, full of arguments, politics, power games. This time, the room was silent. 12 leaders sat around a circular table. Military commanders stood behind them. Scientists watched from side screens. No one spoke. They had all seen the footage. They had all heard the screams. Admiral Marcus Reyes stood near the back of the room. He was tall, gray-haired, and tired. He had served in space for 40 years. He had seen wars, pirates, and border fights. But he had never seen anything like this. The Krell Dominion, an ancient alien empire, ruthless, proud, known for crushing weaker species. They controlled dozens of systems and ruled through fear. Haven 17 was not their first victim, but it was humanity's. One council member finally broke the silence. "We need to talk to them." Another shook her head. "They don't talk. They destroy." A third leaned forward. "Our fleets are smaller. Their technology is older but powerful. A direct war could cost billions of lives." Some suggested diplomacy. Some suggested withdrawal from outer colonies. One even suggested abandoning frontier worlds. Admiral Reyes closed his eyes. He saw Haven 17 again. Children running. Hospitals collapsing. Escape pods burning in atmosphere. He stepped forward. Permission to speak. The council turned toward him. "You may proceed, Admiral," said Chairwoman Patel. Reyes spoke slowly. "They didn't attack Haven 17 for resources. They didn't send demands. They didn't issue warnings." He tapped the table. "They attacked because they could." The room stayed silent. Reyes continued. "Today it was Haven 17. Tomorrow it will be another colony. Then another. If we retreat now, they will hunt us forever." A general spoke. "Our forces are spread thin." A diplomat added, "Our people are not ready for total war." Reyes looked at them. "Our people are already at war. They just don't know it yet." He turned to the large screen behind him. It showed a map of human space. Dozens of colonies. Hundreds of stations. Millions of civilians. "We either stand now," Reyes said, "or we teach the galaxy that humans are easy prey." Chairwoman Patel folded her hands. "What are you proposing?" Reyes took a breath. "Protocol Iron Wake." The name alone changed the air in the room. Several officers stiffened. Scientists whispered to each other. Protocol Iron Wake was not part of normal defense planning. It was humanity's final option, designed after humanity's first interstellar war. A plan to awaken every reserve fleet, open hidden shipyards, activate deep storage weapons, convert civilian industries to military production. It meant one thing: total mobilization. One council member stood up. "That protocol has never been used." Reyes nodded. "And neither has genocide on this scale." Another shouted, "If we do this, there is no going back." Reyes met his eyes. There was no going back when Haven 17 burned. The council voted. It took less than 30 seconds. The decision was unanimous. Chairwoman Patel pressed a red control pad on the table. Protocol Iron Wake is now active. Across human space, ancient systems woke up. Hidden hangars opened beneath mountains. Deep orbit shipyards powered on for the first time in decades. AI command cores came online. Factories switched from civilian goods to armor plating and weapon parts. On Mars, old dry docks began assembling battleships. On Luna, underground reactors surged to life. In the asteroid belt, mining rigs transformed into mobile weapons platforms. A single message went out to every human military base and fleet. Full mobilization. All forces prepare for deployment. No speeches were broadcast. No promises were made. Earth did not scream. Earth went quiet. But beneath that silence, something massive was moving. Something old. Something angry. Humanity was waking up. And far away, in Krell-controlled space, their enemy had no idea what they had just started. The first signs were small. Trade routes near human space began to go silent. Cargo ships stopped responding. Navigation beacons went dark one by one. At first, alien merchants thought it was a technical problem. Then patrol fleets noticed something strange. Human systems were closing. Borders that had always stayed open were now sealed. Civilian traffic vanished overnight. No tourist ships. No research vessels. No friendly diplomatic cruisers. Just quiet stars. Across the Orion Arm, alien governments started watching human territory more closely. Long-range scanners picked up energy spikes from Earth, Mars, and Luna. Power readings climbed far beyond normal levels. Shipyards that had been idle for decades suddenly lit up like small suns. The Valari Union was the first to send a formal inquiry. They received no reply. The TARS Collective tried next. Still nothing. Even neutral observer probes sent into human space were blocked or destroyed by automated defense grids. For the first time since humans entered the galactic community, they had gone completely inward. In the Krell Dominion, this caused laughter. High Commander Zartek watched the reports with mild interest. "Let them hide," he said. "Prey always hides after being bitten." His officers agreed. They believed Haven 17 had done its job. The humans would learn fear. They would pull back from frontier. They would become quiet, obedient neighbors. But something did not feel right. Deep space arrays began detecting massive material movement inside human systems. Entire asteroid fields were being stripped. Metal shipments flowed toward inner worlds. Fuel production doubled, then tripled. Krell intelligence analysts reported unusual traffic near old human military zones. Facilities listed as abandoned suddenly came online. Ancient defense platforms began transmitting encrypted signals. Human AI networks expanded rapidly, linking shipyards, factories, and command hubs into one massive system. The analysts warned their superiors. This does not look like retreat. High Commander Zartek dismissed it. Humans are emotional. They panic. They build walls. He waved a claw. They will exhaust themselves preparing for a war they cannot win. Meanwhile, far beyond Krell territory, other species began to worry. The Nedhari scholars noticed strange patterns in hyperspace. Human jump signatures were multiplying. Old human ship classes appeared on scanners, designs that should have been retired generations ago. Even museum fleets were leaving orbit. The Quarren Republic held an emergency Senate meeting. Ambassador Keela of the Quarren spoke openly. Humans are not acting defensive. They are acting focused. Her words spread across diplomatic networks. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Something big was coming. Inside human space, there was no panic. There were no riots, no mass protests. People simply went to work. Factories ran 24 hours a day. Engineers slept beside assembly lines. Students volunteered for logistics duty. Retired pilots returned to flight schools. Veterans dug out old uniforms. Families hugged longer. Children noticed their parents watching the stars more often. On Earth, recruitment centers filled without advertisements. People didn't ask about pay. They didn't ask about risk. They only asked one question: when do I leave? On Mars, massive frames of new battleships rose from dry docks like steel mountains. On Luna, carrier hulls slid silently into space. In deep orbit, automated shipyards assembled drones by the millions. Cargo haulers were converted into missile platforms. Mining ships gained armor and rail cannons. Research vessels were refitted as electronic warfare craft. Humanity did not care about beauty. They cared about function. Hidden black site facilities released ships the galaxy had never seen. Dark-hulled cruisers with experimental drives. Silent stealth frigates. Command vessels built around advanced AI cores. Even ancient planetary defense cannons were dismantled and mounted onto mobile platforms. Every design ever created by humanity had a place in the coming storm. The human military command merged all branches into a single structure. Fleet Command. One voice. One purpose. Admiral Reyes oversaw the operation from a hardened command station beneath Earth's surface. He watched maps filled with moving icons. Thousands became tens of thousands. Tens of thousands became hundreds of thousands. Supply lines formed across light years. Medical ships were assigned. Repair fleets organized. Logistics convoys plotted safe routes. Every detail mattered. Human war doctrine was simple. If you must fight, fight completely. Alien observers were stunned by the scale. No species had ever mobilized like this. Most galactic wars were limited. Border conflicts. Resource disputes. Humans were doing something different. They were preparing to remove a threat. In Krell space, patrol commanders started reporting strange echoes on long-range sensors, massive gravity distortions, unusual hyperspace turbulence. Some junior officers grew nervous. High Commander Zartek finally ordered increased border defenses, but it was too late. Human fleets were already moving. They did not announce themselves. They did not threaten. They simply began gathering at deep space rally points beyond known trade lanes. From afar, it looked like stars were clustering together, artificial constellations forming in the dark. The galaxy felt it before it fully understood it. A pressure in hyperspace, a hum in subspace communications. Even species without emotion detected the change. Humanity was not hiding. Humanity was assembling. And when the first full fleet count leaked through neutral channels, the number shocked everyone. 500,000 warships, not counting drones, not counting support craft. 500,000. The Krell Dominion stopped laughing. And across the stars, every civilization realized the same truth. The humans were not preparing to survive. They were preparing to advance. The rally point had no name. It was a deep space region far from trade lanes, far from planets, far from any living system. Humans had chosen it long ago for one reason. Nothing could hide there. The space was empty. Perfectly empty. At first, only a few ships arrived. Old patrol, cruisers drifted into position. Supply barges followed. Then carriers. Then destroyers. Each hour, more jump signatures flashed across the void. Ships appeared in silent waves. Small frigates formed neat rows. Heavy battleships took slow, careful positions. Drone clouds spread like silver dust between massive hulls. Support vessels filled the gaps. Medical ships moved into safe zones. Repair platforms unfolded like metal flowers. What started as dozens became hundreds. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became a moving sea of steel. Human Fleet Command watched from secure stations scattered across space. Admiral Reyes stood in the main control chamber, eyes fixed on the growing armada. His officers worked without pause. Navigation teams managed collision paths. Logistics officers tracked fuel and food. AI cores calculated fleet geometry in real time. Every ship had a place. Every unit had a role. This was not chaos. This was design. Veteran pilots sat in cockpits they had not touched in years. Young recruits stared through viewports at the endless line of warships ahead of them. Some felt fear. Most felt something else. Purpose. On board the carrier Atlas Crown, Lieutenant Sarachin watched fighters launch in training cycles. She had joined the Navy for adventure. She was now part of history. Her squad leader spoke over comms. Remember Haven, 17. No one replied. They didn't need to. Across the fleet, crews shared the same silent thought. They had seen the recordings. They had heard the final messages. They had watched civilians die on their screens. This was not a mission. This was an answer. As more ships arrived, the scale became hard to understand. Massive dreadnoughts drifted beside small escort craft. Planetary assault carriers parked next to converted cargo haulers. Mining vessels with welded armor sat beside sleek experimental cruisers. Beauty did not matter. Power did. Some ships were new. Others were older than their crews. Museum pieces brought back from retirement. Hull scars still visible from forgotten wars. Humanity had pulled everything it had ever built into one place. Alien observer probes tried to move closer. They were quietly disabled by long-range defense drones. No warnings were given. No signals returned. Human Fleet Command wanted privacy. At the edge of the rally point, automated construction platforms were still working. Last-minute upgrades, weapon calibrations, shield harmonization, missile bays filled, rail cannons aligned. Every ship received the same data packet. Enemy profiles, Krell fleet layouts, known weapon systems, target priorities. Human combat doctrine was uploaded into every AI core. Adapt fast, share data, protect civilians, destroy military command. Across the armada, crews ran final checks. Engineers sealed pressure lines. Medics stocked trauma bays. Commanders reviewed battle simulations. There was no cheering, no loud music, just quiet focus. Admiral Reyes finally received the full count. He studied the number on his display. Then he closed his eyes for 3 seconds. 500,000 combat-capable warships. He had known it would be large. He had not expected this. His aide spoke softly. All fleets accounted for, sir. Reyes nodded. He walked to the central platform. Every command channel opened. Every bridge screen lit up. Every crew member, from the smallest drone operator to the largest carrier captain, saw him. Reyes did not shout. He did not raise his voice. Today, you stand in the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled. He paused. Some of you are veterans. Some of you joined last month. That does not matter. He looked straight into the camera. What matters is why we are here. Images of Haven. 17 appear behind him. Peaceful farms. Burned cities. Broken hospitals. We did not come for revenge. Another pause. We came for protection. He let the words sink in. The Krell believe strength gives them the right to destroy weaker worlds. They believe fear keeps empires stable. Reyes shook his head slowly. They forgot something. His voice hardened. Humans do not bend. We adapt. We endure. And when pushed far enough. He stopped speaking. The silence stretched. Then he finished. We respond. Across 500,000 ships, crews straightened. Hands tightened on controls. Pilots leaned forward. Engineers whispered quiet prayers. Reyes gave the final order. Begin coordinated jump sequence. Navigation systems aligned. Hyperspace drives charged. Energy levels spiked across the armada. From a distance, it looked like stars were brightening. Alien monitoring stations picked up massive space-time distortions. Some analysts screamed warnings. Others simply stared. No one had ever seen this much mass preparing to jump at once. Within the fleet, countdown timers appeared. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Space folded. Light bent. And 500,000 human warships vanished from the rally point. They did not leave behind wreckage. They did not leave behind signals. Only empty darkness. Far away, inside Krell territory, border sensors suddenly began to scream. The Krell border system was called Zar Prime Gate. It was one of their strongest defensive zones. 3 fortified planets. 6 orbital war stations. Hundreds of patrol ships. Massive shield rays covered every approach lane. For centuries, no enemy fleet had ever broken through it. Krell commanders believed it was unbreakable. That belief lasted exactly 12 seconds. Their early warning sensors screamed as space twisted open across the system. Not one jump point. Not 5. Thousands. Human ships poured out of hyperspace like a metal storm. Frigates first. then destroyers, then carriers, then battleships so large they cast shadows over entire moons. Krell operators froze at their stations. Their screens could not display everything at once. Targets overlapped. Sensor ranges maxed out. Automatic threat counters failed. A junior officer shouted, panic in his voice. There are too many. The system cannot calculate. High Commander Vrex, in charge of Zar Prime Gate, stared at the main tactical display. He had fought dozens of wars. He had crushed rebellions. He had erased smaller species without mercy. But he had never seen this. The human fleet did not rush forward. They spread out, perfect spacing, layer formations. Electronic warfare ships moved the front. Invisible signals flooded Krell systems. Targeting computers glitched. Communication channels filled with static. Defense platforms lost synchronization. Before the Krell could reorganize, the humans began Phase 1. Long-range rail cannons fired. Not wild shots. Precise strikes. Command relays vanished in white flashes. Shield generators collapsed. Sensor towers exploded into silent clouds of debris. Krell war stations tried to return fire. Human drones intercepted incoming energy bolts. Missiles were shot down before reaching their targets. Then Phase 2 began. Carrier bays opened. Millions of autonomous fighters poured into space. They moved in swarms, changing direction without warning. Krell point defense systems could not track them. Fighters slipped through shield gaps and struck weapon mounts, power cores, and hangar bays. Krell cruisers started dying. One by one, human destroyers advanced behind the drone clouds. They fired plasma lances and kinetic rounds. Krell ships broke apart. Escape pods scattered into space. Some were ignored. Some were captured. Human orders were clear. Destroy military targets. Protect civilians when possible. On the bridge of the human battleship Resolute Dawn, Captain Elena Hart watched the battle unfold. Her tactical officer spoke fast. Enemy command ships neutralized. Outer defense ring collapsing. Minimal losses on our side. Hart nodded. Maintain formation. Push forward. Human fleets moved like a single organism. Every ship shared sensor data. Every weapon impact was analyzed in real time. When one tactic worked, it spread across the entire armada within seconds. Krell commanders tried to counter. They launched reserve fleets. They activated emergency shield layers. They ordered kamikaze charges. None of it mattered. Human electronic warfare units shut down guidance systems. Point defense grids erased incoming attackers. Human ships adapted faster than the Krell could think. Within 30 minutes, Zar Prime Gate was burning. One of the orbital war stations attempted to overload its reactor. Human boarding teams intercepted it. They disabled the core and evacuated surviving Krell crew. Even in battle, humans saved enemies who surrendered. This confused the Krell. They were not used to mercy. High Commander Vrex finally ordered a full retreat, but hyperspace lanes were already blocked. Human interdiction fields locked the system down. There would be no escape. Back on Earth, Fleet Command monitored everything. Admiral Reyes stood silent as status reports flowed in. Enemy casualties rising. Human losses minimal. Civilian habitat secured. Reyes did not smile. He did not celebrate. He simply watched. This was only the beginning. On a small human frigate near the front line, Ensign Malik stared at the chaos outside his viewport. Burning wrecks drifted past. Fighter squadrons screamed overhead. He swallowed hard. This was his first battle. His commander placed a hand on his shoulder. "Focus, Ensign." Malik nodded. "Yes, sir." He forced himself back to his station. Fear existed, but it did not control them. Because every human on every ship remembered Haven 17. They remembered the screams. They remembered the silence. The Krell defense finally collapsed. Their remaining ships powered down or were destroyed. Human Marines secured the last war station. Medical teams moved in immediately. Wounded Krell soldiers were treated beside injured humans. Prisoners were given water. This shocked the surviving Krell officers. One of them asked a human medic, voice shaking, "Why help us?" The medic answered simply, "We're not monsters. Hours later, Zar Prime Gate officially fell. A system that had stood for centuries was taken in less than one day. Across the galaxy, observers watched in disbelief. Alien governments rushed emergency meetings. Military analysts rewrote threat models. News networks struggled to explain what had happened. The Krell Dominion had just lost one of its strongest defenses, and the human fleet was not slowing down. They regrouped. They resupplied. They moved deeper. Admiral Reyes sent one short message to Fleet Command. Advance to next target. Far away, in the Krell core worlds, alarm bells began to ring. Their empire was under attack, not by raiders, not by rebels, but by a species that had turned grief into strategy. And humanity was only getting started. The fall of Zar Prime Gate sent shockwaves through the Krell Dominion. For the first time in centuries, their borders were broken. Emergency signals spread across Krell space. Defense fleets were recalled. Shipyards switched to full production. Planetary shields powered up. But panic had already started. Human fleets did not slow down. They moved forward in steady waves, system by system. Each jump was planned. Each strike was clean. Human commanders avoided civilian worlds whenever possible. They targeted military stations, fleet hubs, weapon factories, and command centers. This was not chaos. This was removal. In the Krell system of Eric Theta, 3 major shipyards tried to launch unfinished warships. Human stealth frigates slipped in first. They disabled power grids. Then heavy cruisers arrived and destroyed the docks with long-range fire. The half-built ships never left their frames. In the system of Helier Crest, Krell defense fleets attempted a counterattack. They rushed straight into human formation. It lasted 12 minutes. Human drones swarmed their engines. Rail cannons punched through hulls. Missile waves erased entire squadrons. Krell survivors jumped blindly into deep space. Some never reappeared. On the human command carrier Atlas Crown, Admiral Reyes watched the tactical maps. Red enemy icons vanished one by one. Green human fleets expanded forward. His staff reported updates every minute. Enemy fleet destroyed. Orbital guns neutralized. Civilian station secured. Reyes nodded after each report. He gave no speeches. There was nothing to say. The work continued. Inside the Krell High Command chambers, chaos ruled. Senior officers argued. Some demanded total war. Others begged for negotiations. Supply lines were collapsing. Communication relays were gone. Entire sectors had fallen silent. High Chancellor Varnock slammed his claws against the command table. How did this happen? No one answered. Their intelligence models had failed. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were slow. They thought humans would retreat. They were wrong. Human fleets adapted faster than any enemy they had ever faced. Every battle made humans stronger. Every loss taught them something new. Captured Krell technology was studied and reused within hours. Weapon frequencies were adjusted. Shield patterns were decoded. Human AI systems share improvements instantly across the armada. The Krell were fighting an enemy that learned in real time. On the ground of Krell military worlds, human strike teams landed. They did not bomb cities. They stormed command bunkers. They seized control towers. They shut down planetary cannons. Krell soldiers who surrendered were restrained and treated for wounds. Those who resisted were neutralized quickly. In one fortified base, a Krell officer demanded to know why humans spared prisoners. A human marine answered while securing his weapon. "We're here to stop your empire, not become it." News of human mercy spread among Krell ranks. Some units began surrendering without fighting. Others fought harder out of fear. Neither choice changed the outcome. The core worlds were next. These were the heart of the Krell Dominion, massive population centers, ancient government spires, the seat of their ruling caste. They believed their inner systems were untouchable. They had never imagined an enemy reaching this far. Human fleets arrived in layered formations. Electronic warfare ships blinded planetary sensors. Interdiction fields locked hyperspace exits. Carrier groups released fighter clouds. Then the bombardment began. Not on cities, on defense platforms, on fleet yards, on orbital command rings. The sky above the core worlds filled with fire. From the surface, Krell civilians watched their military structures fall. They had grown up believing their empire was eternal. Now they saw it breaking apart. Human Marines secured space elevators. Human engineers shut down shield generators. Human medical teams set up emergency aid stations for injured civilians. This confused the Krell population. They had been told humans were savage. They were told humans would wipe them out. Instead, humans were separating soldiers from civilians, weapons from people, power from control. On one damaged Krell hospital station, a human doctor worked beside a Krell nurse. They shared no common language. They understood pain. Admiral Reyes received a transmission from Krell High Command. They requested negotiations. They offered technology. They offered territory. They offered tribute. Reyes listened without emotion. Then he played the Haven 17 recording, the burning cities, the dying children, the final message. He sent one reply. You started this. Human fleets continued advancing. The Krell Capital Defense Line collapsed in less than a day. Their elite guard fleets were destroyed. Their ruling council chambers were surrounded. High Chancellor Varnock was captured while attempting to flee in a private cruiser. Across the galaxy, observers watched history unfold. An empire that had ruled through fear for thousands of years was falling in weeks. Alien governments scrambled to reassess humanity. Trade alliances paused. Military doctrines were rewritten. Every species understood one thing now. Humans did not fight for power. They fought for their own. On Earth, people followed the war quietly. There were no celebrations. Only candlelight vigils for Haven 17. Children drew pictures of ships in classrooms. Families waited for messages from the front. Veterans stood outside recruitment centers, offering advice to new volunteers. Humanity stayed focused. Back in Krell space, the final command bastions were taken. The Dominion's central authority fractured. Regional governors surrendered. Fleet commanders laid down arms. The Empire began to dissolve. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of Atlas Crown as reports confirmed the truth. The Krell Dominion was finished, but he knew something important. Victory was not the end. It was only the lesson. And now the galaxy was watching a species that had turned loss into unity, grief into strength, and silence into action. The Krell capital system was quiet, not peaceful. Quiet in the way a storm leaves silence behind. Burned-out war stations drifted in slow orbits. Broken fleets floated like grave markers in space. Emergency lights blinked on abandoned platforms. The heart of the Krell Dominion had fallen. Human fleets held position around the system, forming a massive protective ring. Carriers launched patrol fighters. Repair ships moved between damaged vessels. Medical transports carried wounded soldiers, human and Krell alike. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Atlas Crown, staring at the main display. The war was over, but he did not feel relief. Only wait. High Chancellor Varnock was brought aboard under heavy guard. His once proud armor was cracked. His eyes showed exhaustion instead of rage. He was taken to a secure chamber where Admiral Reyes waited. The Krell leader spoke first. You have destroyed our empire. Reyes answered calmly. No, you destroyed it when you attacked Haven 17. Varnock lowered his head. We believe fear was strength. Reyes folded his hands. Fear is weakness. It just takes time to show. The Krell officially surrendered later that day. Their fleets powered down. Their command codes were handed over. Their ruling caste was arrested. Across Krell space, regional governors followed orders and stood down. The Krell Dominion ceased to exist. Human Fleet Command did not celebrate. There were no victory parades, no loud announcements. Instead, humanity did something unexpected. They stabilized the regions they had taken. Human engineers repaired power grids on former Krell military worlds. Medical teams treated wounded civilians. Food convoys arrived in systems damaged by fighting. Human peacekeepers protected neutral planets that had once lived under Krell control. Former Krell subject species watched in disbelief. They had expected new masters. Instead, they saw guardians. Human commanders made one thing clear. Humanity did not want territory. They wanted safety. They dismantled Krell war factories. They destroyed stockpiles of forbidden weapons. They installed monitoring stations to prevent future militarization. Then they began to leave. System by system, human fleets pulled back, not all at once. Carefully, organized, they left behind defense platforms, warning beacons, and emergency response nodes. Every beacon carried the same message, translated into hundreds of alien languages. Humans defend their own. Do not test this. Across the galaxy, reactions came fast. Some governments praised humanity. Some feared them. Many quietly upgraded their defenses. Military academies added new courses. Human warfare doctrine, adaptive combat strategy, grief-based mobilization. Historians began calling it the Iron Wake War. Students studied how humans had turned loss into unity, how civilians became volunteers, how factories became arsenals, how an entire species moved as one. Alien analysts reached the same conclusion. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But they were the most dangerous when threatened. Because humans did not fight to conquer. They fought to protect. And that made them unstoppable. Months later, Admiral Reyes visited Haven 17. The planet was being rebuilt. New domes rose where cities once burned. Fresh soil covered old scars. Children played under artificial skies, while construction drones hummed overhead. A memorial stood at the center of the colony. A simple black stone wall. Names were carved into it. Millions of names. Families walked slowly past it, touching the letters. Some cried. Some stood silent. Reyes placed his hand on the wall. He did not speak. Nearby, human patrol ships drifted in orbit, not in attack formation, in watchful silence. Lieutenant Sarah Chun, now promoted, stood beside her squad. She watched settlers planting trees. She remembered the first battle, the fire, the chaos. Now she saw life returning. Her commander spoke quietly. "This is why we fought." She nodded. "Yes, sir." Back on Earth, the World Council addressed humanity. Chairwoman Patel spoke calmly. "We did not seek war. We did not enjoy it. But we will never allow our people to be erased." Across cities, people listened in silence. Candles burned in windows. Flags hung low. Humanity remembered Haven 17. They remembered every fallen world. They remembered every lost voice. Years passed. Trade slowly returned. New alliances formed. Former Krell territories became neutral zones protected by human-backed security networks. Some Krell citizens even applied for refugee status in human space. They were accepted. The galaxy changed. Borders became more careful. Empires became quieter. No one wanted to be the next lesson. And deep in space, beyond charts and trade lanes, humanity kept its fleets ready, not at full strength, not at war footing, but prepared. Because humans had learned something important. Peace is not free. It is defended. The story ends where it began. On Haven 17, a child looks up at the sky. She sees stars. She sees patrol lights. She feels safe. Far above her, human ships glide silently through space, guardians of countless worlds. The galaxy now understands a simple truth. You can ignore humans. You can trade with humans. You can even challenge humans. But if you harm them, they will come, not with threats, not with warnings, but with unity, with resolve, with 500,000 warships. And humanity will answer